Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today, and we are on location here at Warrior Path State Park up near Kingsport, Tennessee, and it's just a beautiful place to be. A lot of great opportunities here, from fishing, wildlife watching, great walking trails, places to hike, golf courses, camping, but we just appreciate State Parks letting us be here today and use one of their pavilions to shoot a few wildcasts and hang out. But today we've got Nathan Wilhite helping me co-host, which this is new.
That's right.
Nathan,
this is a little bit different role.
Yeah, so Nathan's jumping in helping co-host, but he was part of one of the first, I guess, quail hunts on Bridgestone Firestone WMA.
Sure.
So he's out there all the time. So he's going to help me co-host. We're going to be talking to a family of hunters. We got Tom Hyder, Cody Hyder, and Mason Hyder with us today, and they all got to go on a hunt, and I'm excited to hear about it and just dive in. So
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for being here.
Well, thank you.
Well, first, let's just jump in and get a little quick family history here, and I'd love to hear from Tom and Cody kind of how y'all got introduced and got into the outdoors, which I'm sure you probably got it from.
Yeah, I got it from him.
From your dad, but
yeah.
but I'd love to hear just a little bit of how it kind of all got started in this family tradition.
Okay, I grew up on the family farm in Carter County, and my dad was an avid boat hunter. He loved bobwhite quail. There was a lot of quail in the area at that time.
Uh-huh.
And he used to tell me quail stories. And as I got older, he took me with him. Well, our life on the farm, work came every day. But opening day, it only came once a year. Opening day, a quail fever was like no other. And so that meant turning the dogs out, spending the day with the family, walking through briar thickets, through the back of patches we'd harvested, across corn patches, and watching the dogs hunt. And so it was just a real meaningful day to me. And so we got started and hunted, and that was just a family tradition.
Yeah.
But opening day, it was always a special day. And I tried to pass that generation along. And if we fast forwarded this story,
Yeah.
about 55 or 60 years, to December the 19th, 2024. Woke up that morning in a motel in Crossville, Tennessee, about an hour before the clock was going to go off. And I remember we had the family with us. We had the gear pack, had the dogs with us. I felt so honored and so blessed and so humbled that I could feel excitement in there, because I knew we were going to Bridgestone Firestone Wildlife Management Area. We had 3 generations together again, and it was opening day.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to see what that day held for us.
That's cool.
See, whenever I didn't grow up with quail, quail hunting, by the time that I was getting into hunting, it wasn't a thing. We did a little bit of grouse hunting, and that was not great, And so to get to go on this hunt, I was like, this may be the only time in my life that I or him get to see a wild cubby of quail come up underneath a dog, So, and we got to experience that multiple times in this hunt. So, yeah, we're blessed to get drawn, especially on the first one ever. So,
yeah, that's awesome. So, what was one of the first things that hooked you? I know your dad's taking you hunting, and what was the hunting that stuck with you?
I would say
growing up,
probably the first outdoor thing I got hooked on was probably trout fishing. And when I was growing up, it was like, when I can remember when I was in middle school, Field and Stream or something ranked us in the top 10 destinations in the United States to trout fish. So I grew up before that there was all the guide boats and where you could go catch 100 a day, and it wasn't no big deal. So that's kind of what got me hooked. And then I got into deer hunting and got into turkey hunting and got into, and then as I got older, I got my own dogs, and we was like, hey, we're going to Michigan. We started grouse hunting, and So I just and
cool.
now I'm just into bass fishing. Got big time into bass fishing. I actually pulled my bass boat today. I was like, hey, I took a half day off. We're going fishing.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you. Well, Mason, what's your favorite type of hunting? I know your dad and granddad's taking you out there and introducing you. What would you like to hunt or fish, or what's your favorite thing to do?
I like to go fishing with my dad and my papa and my brother.
Awesome. What's your favorite type of fish to go after? Is it bass fishing?
Yep.
Awesome.
Before we go any farther, we got to ask, because we're talking about bird hunting. Tell us about your dogs, what you grew up with and what you got now.
We had pointers and feathers.
Okay.
And I really like the German short-haired pointer. And so for many years, I've had a German short-haired.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what we had today. It's what we took on the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
So there has to be some things that go into that. You're training that dog and making sure it's good for the hunt. But so you've been doing that, I'm sure, and you've got farm raised birds on your property that you
Yes.
do now. So tell them a little bit about that process. Raising birds on your farm and running your dogs and the fun that you have there back home.
Well, we bought some quail, and then we got the eggs and put them in incubators so we could have an unlimited supply of quail.
Yeah.
Put a weed call funnel on the bottom of the Johnny house. We could take those quail out and put them in the fence rows and put them in the strip we didn't mow and let the dogs hunt them and flush them, and the buddies would call them back in. So
yeah.
you could just train anytime you wanted to, and that helps out a lot.
Very cool. So you got some dogs that know how to work real birds, or can get in there and do the real hunting.
Well, and part of the significance of all this is, like we were just talking about, Cody mentioned going up to Michigan or trying to find wild quail to hunt. You for the most part, you've got to travel a good ways, and so for those of us that want to continue working and raising good bird dogs, and that means we've got to find other ways to keep them busy and train them up. And so, yeah, the Johnny House option is a pretty common option, and it's a good way to get a lot of good exposure and contacts to, especially a young dog, to get them ready to go on one of those other bigger trips.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what's really awesome is that you're hunting native birds on Bridgestone Firestone, and the work that y'all have done there has been able to make these hunts happen. So talk a little bit about the work that y'all are doing and how we brought these cubbies back on these properties.
Yeah, so I just got to start by saying that we've got a ton of investment from leadership in this agency, from our commission all the way up my entire chain of command. They've been really bought in, and all we've tried to do is produce results from that. We've had some good investment to help manage the habitat, to really help prioritize what birds were on the property. Bridgestone has had quail populations in a couple of different areas, which has given us the ability to really see the fruits of our labor pretty quickly. They're a bird that's going to reproduce very quickly, and generally they're going to die pretty quickly. And so you do everything you can to give them the right conditions. And so we've had some great success. I've got an incredible team of technicians, and there's been some rotation kind of throughout the last few years as folks have gone on to other jobs. But every step of the way, I've had a great group of guys who are just ready to go to work, whether that's lighting fires. We were burning yesterday, or disking, or spraying herbicide to reduce non-native species. And so what that's allowed us to do is really take a few birds, grow that population, and we're kind of replicating that in several different areas. Right now the farm, as we call it, is about a 700-acre piece. It was an old beef and dairy cow operation, but that's kind of been our key restoration area for now. But we're working on doing the same thing in 2 or 3 other spots on Bridgestone, and hoping that we can continue adding to what we have here, which is folks who have a desire to have dogs and hunt birds in Tennessee again.
That's cool. Well, let's go back to that night in Crossville right before the hunt. That's an awesome story. I love the passion and the heart behind what you were telling us there. But so you're there that morning. What's your feeling as you're jumping out on the property that morning and going hunting?
Well, the habitat that we looked at reminded me of years ago when people burnt and had grown-up fence rows and we'd had tobacco patches and different cover, and the cover looked perfect for me. It just looked like anywhere you went, you're going to find a quail.
Yeah.
Because it was just awesome, the habitat that I saw.
Right.
So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know the work that y'all are doing out there is amazing, and it's really producing some good quality habitat for these birds. And
Got a quality smallmouth getting caught right here behind us, right here.
oh yeah,
That's a good one.
Hey, there we go. We've been after them all day today. Yeah, awesome. So, what was it like for you to get to go on this hunt with your dad and your son? I know it's got to be amazing.
It was awesome. Like I said, I didn't know. I'm like, where am I going? How far am I going to have to drive to flush a quail, a actual legit wild bobwhite quail in my life? And we got drawn on this hunt, and it was great. I mean, we went down the week before and had run our dogs, so I kind of knew what the lay of land was going to look like. We kind of had it, kind of scouted out, and luckily we got to take a truck in there because that's a long. You wouldn't think like 700 acres, but that's a lot of walking in there.
Absolutely.
So, it was awesome.
Mason, what'd you think about it? You got to pull the trigger on a bird or two, didn't you?
Yep.
Were you successful? No, a few misses. That's
All
okay.
right.
That's all right. Y'all were able to jump a few coveys. And here, I'm not a quail hunter, so I may be using the wrong terminology.
Yeah.
Jump them.
Tell us a little bit about, you got any stories from the hunts you want to share?
So we spent the first part of the day. We're just going in here blind. We didn't get up any.
You mean he didn't find you the best spot? Take you to
I met him up at the barn that morning. I said, the place is yours. We'll see you at 3:00.
Yeah. So we went. We just started hunting. We just put our nose down, started hunting, and we first covey we busted. We didn't actually get to shoot at. They just kind of come up on us, and not the dog hadn't pointed them or nothing. They would just kind of come up, flew across the road, but we seen them.
Yeah.
So we started hunting down in there, and then we got up 2 birds together, and they was actually filming us whenever that happened. That because we knew where them birds had went, and we kind of hunted down there. And then later on in the day, probably the second half of the day, we got down in the creek bottoms, and we was hunting down through there, and got 2 big coveys up back to back, and that was like 15-20 birds in both of those. And then so we was hunting solos the rest of the day. And so from the second half of the day on, it was pretty much nonstop action. We were getting birds up, we were getting points, it was really exciting the second half of the day. The first half of the day we was kind of trying to find them. Once we found them, it was nonstop action. I was like, man, I wish we had another 2 hours in here. But
did you have any good pieces of dog work you want to tell anybody about?
Oh yeah. Whenever we busted the first bunch up, they went off down in there and they was filming us. So we come back up through here and the dog points, and I'm like, okay, we're sneaking up, we're getting up on it. Mason's to my right, and they come up. So we both shoot, and boom, boom, we miss. So this bird goes this way, one bird goes over here, and I'm watching them go down. I see this one go down, and this one goes down right in like a big old bunch of bushes. I'm like, oh, I know right where this bird's at. So I unloaded my gun, took the shells out of my gun, and loaded Mason's gun up.
Had him ready.
And I'm like, all right, here's the plan. We're going to go down through here. We're going to work around like this, and it's going to come up this way. I had it all planned out, and I forgot to reload my gun. So we get down there, dog points, and I mean, I'm like 3 steps away from the dog. Bird comes up, flying straight away from me. Dad and Mason both boom, 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 and I click, and it's flying straight away from me. And so that was but the 2 big coveys, the dog had both of them coveys set. So
Great.
But we just double barrel.
Yeah.
We picked the wrong shots. So, but it's okay. It was. I mean, it ain't about killing them.
That's right.
The hunt was awesome.
It's about the adventure, the memories made. We were just talking with the previous guest, Jim Shoup. He talks about, it's the memories that I made and the adventures that I had. It's not so much the trophy on the wall.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
bird hunting is one of those things that, and I'm talking upland bird hunting, not necessarily waterfowl, but it's kind of like fly fishing, right? You have a lot of investment in the gear and the tactics and that sort of thing, and it's not something that you're trying to just go fill the freezer up, right?
Yeah.
You're out there for the experience, and and that's generally reflected in a lot of southern quail hunters in general. Just the opportunity to go is as important as the ability to put one in the hand. you know.
So what's the future of the property looking like? I mean, is this something we're going to get to continue to do, you think, and moving forward?
I think so. Yes, sir. We'll always continue working there. We've got another probably 350 acres, about a mile or so up the road that actually one of my guys heard some birds covey calling yesterday while we were burning. And so there's some birds that have moved from the farm up there, and then the entire south side of the property, which would be what folks would look at as the Big Bottom unit. It's a lot of old timber company land.
Okay.
And so we're doing there's quite a bit of thinned pines already that we've been managing, but we're adding to that every day. We've got about 230 acres right now being cut, and so I hope for as long as I'm around that we'll just be cutting trees and open up more ground and turning that into quail cover, and yeah, I think in the long run we'll be able to have quite a few more hunters get to experience what the Hyders got to experience.
That's awesome. So if folks that don't know or haven't heard, how many hunts were held this year?
Yeah, so there were 4 hunts, and the way our hunt system was designed, it's got infrastructure in place basically to adjust the pressure based on the densities of birds. And so we figured just on the first year we'd tone it back a little bit. We had 4 hunts, 1 hunt party per hunt, and so they pretty much had the farm to themselves each of those hunts. And it's something that we'll look in the future to see how much we can add without degrading the experience or affecting the birds. The one problem with having an island of 700 acres is they have nowhere else to go. And so you can easily overpressure them. And so we're trying to be diligent about that. And I know there's some folks with a lot of interest in what we're doing who have some concerns about it, but everything we're doing is tied to relevant published science, and so we're going about it the right way. But yeah, there is potential moving forward to add to that in a variety of ways. But for now, we had 4 hunts. This next year we'll have 4 hunts, one party per hunt.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think it's cool. I think it's awesome to see the opportunities coming back, and like you said, Cody, it's you and I, our generation, we haven't had a chance to go after quail like that or see them that much, and so it's cool to know that we might.
Yeah, but and granted, I'm a bird dog guy, so I'm always talking. I see a bird dog on somebody's hat, I'm going to talk to them about it, But and I don't mean this in any wrong way, but Mr. Tom, the vast majority of the gentlemen that I get to talk to and who have a history and passion about bird dogs are an older generation, and I hope that we can start to reverse that. I think there's great momentum. There's a variety of other WMAs that are working pretty heavily to restore wild quail populations. Tall Timbers is coming to Tennessee and working at the historic Ames Plantation, and they're without a doubt going to be successful there. And so I'm hoping that we can just continue to keep that ball rolling and keep adding to the opportunities to chase wild birds in Tennessee.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing that I found neat during the hunt, my dog was out. We'd turn one at a time out, and we was hunting along, and my watch vibrated. I looked down, and it said Misty's on point, 47 yards that way. And I thought, I never thought in my life I'd get to hear my watch go off and tell me where my dog was.
Yeah.
But we went, set up, flushed them, and had a good time that day.
That's really cool to hear, because technology has definitely changed from the early days of when you were out there chasing quail, right?
It has.
So how did you track your dogs then and know where they were? I mean, you had to be on them, I guess, at that point, or have a bell or something.
Had a bell, and sometimes they'd hit the road, disappear. You have to go hunt them. Neighbors would find them, and call you and say, "We got your dog down here." But now, every step they take if you've got the tracking collar.
But back then, everybody had dogs, so if one went missing, they knew they'd want their neighbor to pick them up and hold them for them, right?
Yeah. Well, outside of quail, and you mentioned fishing and other things, but y'all love to deer hunt. You love to fish. What other things do y'all like to get into in the outdoors?
We've always tried to have her own dove field. That's been a family tradition.
Okay.
And opening day of dove season, especially opening day of quail season was, And we still do that today. And Mason killed a great big deer on a juvenile hunt.
Awesome.
And it's probably, he'll have to do good to top that one. Killed it on their farm, too.
That's very cool.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's probably, me and my dad have been taking that really seriously, since I'd say probably about the time I got out of college. I bought 23 acres and we started managing it, and that's something that we just do it every year. I mean, it's like, hey, it's May, it's time to plant food plots. Hey, it's almost deer season, we got fall planting, here we go.
Yeah.
So we make sure, and that's something that he gets to experience that I didn't really get to experience. Whenever I was growing up, deer hunting wasn't around the, you had to go up in the mountains. You had to go somewhere to find a lot of deer, and I didn't really kill a big deer until I was older. I mean, probably college.
Yeah.
So, and now, I mean, he's killed a 123-inch whitetail, and he's only 7 years old, So
That's awesome.
That's something that we take really seriously, is deer hunting and managing that. And then the dove hunting. Y'all have a bunch of good information too on planting dove fields and stuff online. We've looked at that. I really want to try the planting sunflowers like corn, like in rows.
Yep.
And spraying the pre-emergent herbicide and having the standing sunflower field. I think we're going to try to do that this year.
Yeah.
So
Very cool. And you got something pretty to look at, too.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, and Cody, I wanted you to touch on some of the things that you're not only passing it on to your son, but you're trying to pass it on to the kids that you're influencing through your school and where you teach, right?
Yeah, and that, like he said, the younger generation is kind of getting out of the outdoors, like hunting and fishing. So I teach at Happy Valley High School, and I have an elective class during our short period that's hunter safety and boating. So I try to kind of share that passion of hunting and fishing with them, while at the same time giving them the opportunity to have the licenses and requirements and knowledge that they need to be able to go into the woods or go out here on a boat and fish and be able to be successful, and be able to own your own boat, be able to get out here in the outdoors and enjoy the stuff that I enjoyed growing up, and that's something that a lot of the younger generation doesn't have the chance to do now. So we do a hunter safety there at Happy Valley, and it's been a good program. Stanley Shell with Unique Run Gun Club has helped me get that going, and
Awesome.
and keep that going. So
That's cool. And speaking of a gun club, you don't see many of those around anymore
That's
either.
right.
But it's cool that there's still those groups of people and still those individuals who want to keep passing it on, making it happen. That's what we've been preaching for a few years at the agency,
right.
Trying to keep the magic alive, keep the outdoors alive for these younger generations coming up and those who've gotten away from it and that kind of thing. But have you seen great recruitment in your classes? I mean, kids that you would never see outdoors.
They don't let everybody take it, but everybody wants to take it, So, a select few get to actually get in there, but I have people in the hall ask me all the time, like, hey, how do I get into hunter safety? I'm like, I don't know. You'll have to go talk to the counselor. You just have to get lucky. I don't know. So
that's cool. And then you got doing the boating ed too, which is great.
Yeah.
That's a never-ending education issue there. Getting people educated on how to operate a boat and be safe on the water. And so yeah, that's great. Well, and Tom, you mentioned bow hunter ed. You were a long time instructor for bow hunter ed.
Bow hunter ed for several years, and we taught the basics and the safety of tree stands.
Oh, very important. Yeah.
All the way to tracking down game. And it was, everybody seemed like that class, and it would take a few hours, maybe 6 hours on lunch and all on Saturday, and a lot of times we'd have a classroom full at the archery club or somewhere like that. We'd go to Unique Rod and Gun Club and teach on their side, and that's a fun thing to do. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's see. Anything else we want to cover before we have to wrap it up today? I'm thinking, what's going on?
I want to hear a little backstory. There were 1,100 people, or close to 1,100 people, that put in for this.
Yeah.
For these 4 hunts, right? And we're kind of expecting that to be increasing, right, as the year goes on, and there's more talk about it. But for those that may be thinking about putting in next year, do you have any words of advice? Anything you might
All I can say is we just hit the lottery. I mean, I saw it. I was looking at I was thinking, well, do I want to put in for a hunt, put in for something this year or whatever? And I was looking through the TWRA book, and I was pulling up the app, and I was looking at what all. I was like, I don't know, I might put in for the elk hunt. I might start putting in for President's Island or something. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, there's a quail hunt on here. And I called Dad. As soon as I seen it, I called Dad. I'm like, hey, we're putting in for this quail hunt. Let's go.
Yeah, I hope you bought a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the day of. You're turning the dogs loose. What words of advice might you give for somebody who maybe gets drawn this next year?
So first thing I would say is you better have a dog, because if you're just trying to walk around and jump them up, that would not be very conducive to success.
And how many dogs did y'all bring that day?
Three. Yeah, right. We brought 3, and we turned them out one at a time. Yeah,
you got to pace them, right?
Yeah, and they're young. I mean, 2 of those dogs are real young. They're like 2 years old. They had puppy power. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we just wanted to give them a chance.
That's
but
right.
They did good. And so, but I would say have a dog, and then B, I would be prepared to, if you're used to grouse hunting, it's not like grouse hunting. You're going to be out in the middle of you're basically kind of like prairie or something. It's going to be long. You're going to have some tough shots. You're going to have, you better have some shells. Yeah, I would recommend an automatic after my experience. But,
What I'd say is that you better have 2 boxes of shells.
Because you're going to be firing away, aren't you?
If you can find that many birds, you're doing pretty good, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. I appreciate y'all making the trek, which was only a few miles from you guys. Y'all grew up here in the Elizabethan area, and
We did.
And so it's not too far. But y'all got a fishing trip planned, so we're going to let y'all go. So y'all can do some fishing.
We're going to go hit the lake. So enjoyed it.
Well, again, thank you, Mason. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us today, buddy. You may be our youngest guest ever on WildCast, so congratulations.
Thanks.
This is Tennessee WildCast. Nathan, thank you for co-hosting, coming and hanging out with us, and doing what you do on Bridgestone Firestone. I'm up here in East Tennessee. The folks that do the work on these WMAs and our public lands are good guys, good gals. They do what they can to make hunting and getting outdoors that much more fun and more productive. So we appreciate the work you do.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Again, thank you guys for watching, for listening, for hanging out with us. And this is Tennessee WildCast, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org. And follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.